Y-
All right. Almost had an interruption, but we pulled it off. The wife got out of the room.
We,
This is
we did it.
placebo.
We kicked the wife out of the room. She was walking in right as you clicked
Come on, man. We
record.
got to have some safe spaces here. It's this Placebo
That's right.
Journal podcast number 4. Vance Lassie is going to do the story today, and it's about a patient that got hurt on an isolated island. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the way I recall this story. If
Uh,
memory serves, this is a long
And
time ago.
good medical stuff. Good, and is what would happen when a patient gets caught on an island and fucks up
An
his
island with no
knee?
services, no electricity, and a huge thunderstorm, so you can't leave the
Go
island.
ahead and tell it. Why don't you tell it?
All
Because
right,
the
so I'm going to
patient
read
is
this. Where
you.
I'm reading the story.
Oh,
The
okay,
patient
but
is me. I'm reading the story.
okay, go.
So this is from. All right, everybody. This is the placebo journal we're reading from today. This is the
What's the cover? Pick it
October
up higher.
2010. This is
Pick.
the a dose of authentic medicine. This is when you first came up with the term authentic medicine
Okay,
and
yeah,
did the editorial about authentic medicine. It was the 10th anniversary episode or
gotcha.
10th year or whatever it was. It's October 2010, Volume 10, Issue 1.
Okay.
A true story of medicine, and it's called My Summer Vacation with Doug. All right. Over the years that I have been writing for the Placebo Journal, I have somehow managed to specialize in self depreciation. Our readers have read about my appendectomy, my coroner call on my dead and rotting neighbor, and of course, my scrotal MRSA cellulitis.
That's another story we got to give at some
It's
point.
another good story. Photos of me have been in the journal on a toilet with my pants down, sticking my tongue out about 8 inches, wearing a purple wig, wearing lederhosen, and dressed in not but a Speedo. I'm not complaining, but even as my 1 year old daughter knows, nothing is as funny as watching another person get hurt. By the
Exactly.
way, that 1 year old daughter
Yeah.
is 14 years old. She's a
Great.
freshman in high school. So, in order to, we're old, man. So, in order to continue this pattern, I decided to share the following story. Our esteemed editor, Doug, the quote, king of medicine, end quote, lives in Maine. I live in Kansas. Subsequently, we don't exactly get to hang out much. Months ago, I was invited to a 2 day conference, which was coincidentally being held in Maine. I was able to figure out a way to vacation with Doug a few days after the classes were done. After being picked up by Doug's wife, Debbie, and hanging out with him in his office for a few hours, we loaded up on supplies and headed to the coast of Maine. Our vacation plan was to spend a few days enjoying the beauty of coastal Maine on a beautiful island owned by Doug's friend Doug and his wife Erica. Let's call him Other Doug. Other Doug is the talented musician responsible for Don't Leave Us Behind, the Placebo Journal's theme song for healthcare reform. On an island without any electricity, we were able to spend some time off the grid, floating on their boat, hiking, swimming, and kayaking. Other than trying to keep Doug's dogs away from other Doug's cats, life was quiet in this great outdoor paradise. But that all changed when Doug's two teenage sons challenged him and me to a game of wiffle ball. Doug's Doug's family has a sophisticated set of rules worked out for the particular venue, a small meadow, and they play barefoot. The grass was still damp with morning dew, and it felt good on my bare feet. Doug and I took turns pitching, easily holding off the skilled but overly confident teenagers, both at bat and in the field. Several innings in, I was warmed up and getting the hang of fast pitch wiffle ball, a sport to which I was new. I had one of Doug's sons on a full count, so I went for the old fastball. I wound up through Doug, you're laughing because I'm bringing back all the memories,
I
man.
know.
I, I wound up, threw, and stretched, and as my outstretched left foot landed, it slipped on the wet grass, and my already fully extended knee immediately hyperextended under my weight. A loud pop and crack accompanied some seriously intense pain. My knee hyperextended and subluxed, which means that it actually bent the wrong way for just a second. This, by the way, is even more nauseating of a sight when it's your own leg. As a kid, I jumped off the roofs of farm buildings playing Superman. I played basketball competitively since I was 8. I played football. I even been snow skiing on difficult moguls in the Rocky Mountains nearly every year since junior high. I've ridden my mountain bike down a hill we call the Trail of Death, ridden four-wheelers off erosion cliffs on the Kansas plains, and countless other dangerous and stupid activities. But at the age of 34, on that fateful day on a Maine island without services, 1,700 miles from home, I sustained the worst injury of my life playing wiffle ball. I now, like I said, I specialize in self depreciation. I now know that it sucks being a doctor when you get a bad injury because you know what is happening as it happens, which eliminates the quote, maybe it's just a sprain hope that the lay public often enjoys. When this kind of thing happens, you think fast and time seems to momentarily slow down. Before I hit the ground, I knew my ACL was gone. I was already angry about the fact that I was going to have surgery, pay a small fortune in insurance deductibles, and miss some work. I was going to miss a year of basketball and other sports that I enjoy, and I knew that months of physical therapy I didn't have time for were in my future, and I hadn't even hit the ground. I had even time I, I had even time to realize I was going to be the butt of wiffle ball jokes for eternity.
And you
The
were.
only thing that I and I still am. The only thing I didn't know before I hit the ground was how in the world I was going to get home, let alone get off this island. After I hit the ground, the pain really hit me and I started screaming like a little girl. Actually, even the weakest little girls have nothing on the way I was carrying on. Weak little girls would have felt sorry for me with my pathetic display of wussitude. I didn't want to, but I felt like if I didn't yell, my head would explode. Although I can, in retrospect, think of a physiological mechanism by which not yelling from lower extremity pain would cause spontaneous head explosion. I also immediately realized my fibula was fractured and that I had messed up the peroneal nerve because part of my leg and part of my foot had gone numb. Meanwhile, as I sat screaming like a hyena, everybody started laughing. And we should stop the reading here and say we had like a peanut gallery, like
Yeah.
Debbie and I think your daughter was your daughter there? I think
Yeah, and then
I
Doug's
think she was
family and
there
everybody was there.
and Erica, and they had like lawn chairs and they were watching this game. So, all right, so I'm on the ground and they all started laughing. So, all right. Meanwhile, as I sat screaming like a hyena, everybody started laughing. Seriously, they did, and I don't blame them because A, I'm always doing something stupid for a laugh, and B, I would have laughed at me, and C, who badly injures themselves playing
Playing
wiffle
wiffle
ball.
ball.
Of course, just as quickly they knew something was wrong and they gathered around helplessly watching me carry on. After the adrenaline and endorphins kicked in, I could talk and I could quit my screaming, and I asked for an ice pack and sat there being disgusted with myself and wondering if the pitch had been a strike. This in the this in the weirdest part of these kinds of this is the weirdest part of these kinds of injuries. After the initial screaming and all, everybody still sat there awkwardly feeling bad for the klutz and wondering when he'd get his wimpy butt off the field so the game could continue. Luckily, my body would allow none of this seriousness despite my brain's commitment to it at the moment. I farted. In retrospect, I should have laughed very hard at that moment the way I'm laughing now as I write this. It probably would have made me feel better. One of the kids caught it and started to chuckle and was shushed by an adult because it was still too early to laugh, even at a fart. I wish I I wish I had laughed at that. Anyway, we'll laugh about it now. Better late than never, better out than in. Doug and other Doug got me up in a lawn chair and an ice pack so I could watch the rest of the game. Luckily, they have a propane freezer slash refrigerator there on the island, so I had some ice, although I think the rest of the company had to do without ice in their drinks for a couple days. I took some ibuprofen, but after a couple of hours, the pain was really getting bad, so Doug called in some painkillers for me. And just as other Doug was going to take the boat to the mainland to get them, a huge storm came up and it started raining and lightning like crazy. Now I remember that. That was a crazy, like it was a
Yeah,
big
bad.
thunderstorm. It was nuts. There was no
Yep.
going out on that boat. The thunderstorm kept on well into the night, so my pain control options for the evening became ibuprofen and light beer. This seemed like an acceptable alternative to prescription narcotics, given the lack of other options available, until about 4 hours later when I remembered that despite its medicinal qualities, beer is still mostly water. So when my bladder couldn't take it anymore, I found myself stuck in a weird situation. I sat in a big one-room cabin with 10 other people, and the only facilities were outside where it was raining and lightning like crazy, and I didn't know if I could stand and bear weight on my own. Was I going to have to ask for a urinal? Where they have to sacrifice a kitchen container? Fortune favored me, and I discovered I could bear some weight, so other Doug made me an excellent temporary crutch out of an old broom handle, and that was enough for me to get going, and I hobbled outside in the rain and found the outhouse. The next morning, I watched another wiffle ball game from the cabin deck and even made my way down to the dock to watch the boys trap crabs and lobsters and watch the dog fight with the crabs, which was amusing. One of the dogs has an injured leg. For all of you Forrest Gump fans, his name is Forrest. And I think he felt for me. So Forrest and I just spent the afternoon laying around on the dock in the sun, enjoying the beautiful scenery and weather and wishing our legs worked better. And this is where I should put the picture of me and Forrest because it's a cool picture. Can you guys, let's see here.
Oh,
There, can you
you
see that pretty
froze.
good?
Shit. Okay, there. Froze a little
Did
bit.
it
Oh
work?
yeah, there it is. Gotcha. Yep.
There's Forrest.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
I
so me
may
and
put that
Forrest
in
hanging
later,
out.
but yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that evening, Doug and I loaded up, filled that prescription, and headed to his house so we could get me to the airport the next morning. Other Doug's temporary crutch had reached the end of its lifespan, so Doug got out a crutch left over from one of his old knee injuries. The problem was that Doug is over a foot shorter than me. Some would say he's a dwarf. And so his crutch was way too short. The next morning, Doug dropped me off, said goodbye, called me a huge wuss, and told me I had better write the story up for the journal. I went to work the next, and I did. I used that tiny crutch on the airplanes, and everybody was laughing at me because the crutch barely came to like above my waist. Okay, I went to work the next week and was in surgery 4 days later, which happened to be the eve of my 35th birthday. The surgery center booted me out as soon as I could maintain my own airway, bottle of
You're
oxycodone in hand, and I
Say that again
I
because
eventually
the
figured.
last 30 seconds,
Oh,
the
I'm
last
cutting out.
15 seconds, uh,
Sorry.
yeah,
Did I get the part
that's all
about
right.
you dropped
It's
me
the
off, called me a wuss,
connection.
and told me to write the story up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then the plane, and then when you went to work.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I went to work the next week and was in surgery 4 days later, which happened to be the eve of my 35th birthday. The surgery center booted me out as soon as I could maintain my own airway, bottle of oxycodone in hand. I eventually figured out proper doses for the pain meds, and I don't really remember my birthday. Not that I wish injury on anyone, but maybe next time I vacation with Doug's family, he'll lose an eye playing Yahtzee or something, and I will finally have heard the end of this wiffle ball ACL business. By the way, the pitch that did in my knee was a ball and the batter walked. After I got situated with an ice pack, Doug finished the game single-handedly and we still won 12-4.
Fuck yeah.
Editor's note, this is the part that you wrote at the end. Editor's note, this story is all true, the fun, the fall, and even the fart, and I still laugh about them all.
To this day, dude, we still talk about this story on the island. I talk about it with you. It's fucking hysterical. I mean, listen, as a
Walk
guy
down
who
memory lane.
as a guy had two ACL surgeries and seven knee surgeries and now a knee replacement, I know the pain, so I can empathize
Mhm.
with you. But yeah, and we heard the pop of the fibula. That was crazy. I mean, everything was like
Dude, it
that was
was
like a
the fibula
shotgun.
was worse than the rest of it.
Yeah.
The meniscus and the ACL, I don't think were as bad. The fibula, the top of the fibula was like comminuted fracture. It was like 9 little pieces at the head of the fibula up there. And you know how when they do
Wow.
orthoscopic surgery, they put your knee in all these like unholy, angles to get in there with the scopes? Doing that, I think they just powdered what was left of it, and my pain the first 2 days was all the fibula pain, and I mean, I gained a significant amount of
Yeah,
empathy for
bone
knee
pain's the
surgery patients
worst.
with broken fibulas because it hurts so friggin' bad. Oh my
And
god.
you still have numbness?
Yeah, I still have
Do you still
nothing on
numb
the,
immediately?
medial half of my yeah, the medial half of my left
That's
foot, 1st, 2nd, and
crazy.
3rd toes,
Crazy.
and most of the 4th, and the ball of my foot are totally numb. I could drive a nail through my big toe like, like, is it Big Dad? No, what movie is that? Deeds? The character in
Yeah,
Deeds that,
yeah,
what's his
yeah.
name plays. He's got the
Yeah,
dead foot.
I can empathize with you and patients. My right hip was replaced, so that whole area of my thigh is numb. And then my knee is,
Yeah,
all numb from the replacement there. So I mean, you can stab me, and I can I
yeah,
wouldn't feel a thing. Yeah. Hey,
yeah. A
man,
few
I'm
years
sorry
ago,
that
I
we
was
talk
tiling the
about that.
floor. Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, well, we talk about it on
Well,
the
no, I was
island
just
all the
saying
time, and yeah, go ahead. You freeze? Can you hear me? You can hear me. Yeah. So yeah, we talk about it all the time in the island. We still laugh about it, and you actually sent in a medical case for them later on. You forgot to tell us that you supplies, medical supplies. You sent a
Oh, yeah,
toolbox
yeah,
full of
that's right. I
so
forgot about
we
that.
I
Yeah,
because we
the next year I made like a really nice big like first aid kit that was loaded with everything you would need for that island. Because I'm like, that won't happen again. Next time something happens on the island, you'll have everything you need.
and so everything happens in an island. Not but a year or two ago, Erica, they were playing some game where you knock a bottle off a stick with something, and it hit her in her face, split her lip open, went into Vance's box and numbed her up, and I sewed her up there in an island. So you have
Yeah.
come through. Yeah, you have come through. But yeah, that's a story because every time I go to the island. I go every year. I don't live in Maine anymore. I live in Virginia, but I still go every year. And I go into the back area and I see Vance's box set, and I laugh every time.
It makes a good story.
Yeah. No, hey, listen, doctors are patients too. It's good to empathize and
Yeah.
understand what people go through. We go through some harrowing stuff. As we get older, like I said, I've had my knee replaced, hip replaced, my shoulder was redone. It sucks getting old, but so I know the system, and I know the situation and how things can go. And I've been treated well, but it's a harrowing experience recovering too. I mean, it's not an easy recovery, the knee, and I never really recovered from multiple ACL reconstructions, and now I'm
Yeah.
finally pain
But
free
once you
after
get that knee
years.
replacement, once your knee replacement got done, it's funny is I've noticed hanging out with you over the years, you limped so bad for all those years when your knee was bad.
Yeah,
And then once you replaced your knee, once you got through rehab and all the chronic pain you had, that once that was done, your limp went away, but you keep doing it like out of habit. I'll say like,
it's
"Dude, you're
hard. My
limping again." You're
whole
like, "Oh
life.
yeah."
Remember, I blew my knee
So
out
so
in
now you have to
college.
like tell yourself not to limp because you
Not to
don't
limp
have
because
to.
that's
You
you
just do it.
build in a loop,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I blew it out in college. I wrestled in college and blew it out there, and I've suffered so many years with it. And then but then I started getting better, and then I got my hip went bad, so then that limp started. So I mean, at one point, and I was on the other side, my hip. So at one point, I was walking like I had like someone like cerebral palsy. So it's hard to retrain
Yeah.
yourself
You did, man.
to walk normal. I have to think about walking. It's insanity. So yeah, that was a good issue. That was our 10th year, huh? So, that was the last year, I guess. We did that
Yeah.
journal. Yeah.
I was looking
Well,
through it when I was trying to
I
find
wanted to
the article to
share.
read it today. Do you remember this drug we came up with?
Which one? I can't see it. What's the name? Hold on.
SBAPIAU.
Oh my
This
God,
it's a drug you get.
it stands for Stop Being a Pussy. I Hate You. It's for those guys that are just absolute wussies that you just, dude, you gotta man up. And so we're gonna give you a
Yeah.
drug called SBAP. I hate you.
There's it was a
Is that
pretty good
wrong?
I found a few I dug through some old some old issues trying to find this story to read it today, and, I found some pretty good stuff that we can use in some of these, but
Well, we'll
anyways.
talk. We'll do it next time. We'll make this one short today. I think we're having some connection issues, which I'm gonna have to clean up.
Yeah.
But let's talk some more. We'll do it in maybe another week, and I get to share the story about Vance to the world. All right. We'll talk to you
Alright,
later,
man.
man.
Good talking to you. Yeah, we'll see you.